Lovely people, a pleasant evening to you. So, lovely people, this morning I'm, heading off to work and, to make a stop first and then head to work afterwards. And I saw some young people, in different sections of the Kingston metropolitan area handing out some booklets or pamphlets or something of the sort. So it was when I went online, I realized it was the Prime Minister Andrew Holness. I saw Dr. Tufton as well. I don't, and I'm sure there were, and I saw the Prime Minister's wife and other MPs, and they were handing out these pamphlets. And what what the Prime Minister was saying and others was that he was handing these things out to show the achievements that he has made. Boy, he has really turned it up. I mean, this is not a linear campaigning. This is a quantum kind of a campaigning, totally different, unexpected. I mean, one of the things I like, is when people think outside of the box. That's one thing I will tell you that I support, when people think outside of the box. No, I don't think any of us would have expected that, to be very honest with you. So for me, that is basically now the cherry on top kind of campaigning. You know what I mean? Because you would have gone to different sections uh, of our country in all 14 parishes and campaigned arduously or ardently, and now to hand out these booklets or pamphlets. I wasn't that close. I saw some of them in the area handing them out and whatnot, as I said, in different sections of the Kingston metropolitan area. My take on it is that it is an island wide kind of campaigning and so on. I mean, it is fair because sometimes people want to have information about, whichever political party is in power. They would want to have information right there, the tip of their finger, of the different achievements. That if they're at a particular conference, or if they're in a lecture, or if they're talking to somebody, they can talk from an informed place. That was certainly not expected at all. I think a lot of people probably were taken by surprise. I certainly was. I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? I saw them in their colors, but I just figured, they're just saying, how they usually you'll see the little pamphlets that will say vote for this person, vote for that person in the particular constituency and all of that. But it is the Prime Minister's achievements, that he would have condensed and put in that format. Well, with that being said, it therefore means that obviously we know that election is looming, or an election date to be called is looming. Let's put it that way. It therefore means that any minute now, in a matter of moments, I'm sure that the date will be called. Can't wait for that. Yeah, you just kind of want to know and just say, all right, we're going to plan for those of us who will be voting. And I'm hoping that, many Jamaicans will be voting. If you do not vote, please understand you do not have a voice. You really shouldn't talk. You really shouldn't open up your bung shell. You should stay quiet, so you don't talk. You do not. If you do not vote, okay? You may think that you have that kind of liberty and democracy. You really don't. I mean, you can talk, but it is like mist. It just fades out, and it is of no use. And I've often said that even if you don't see the changes that you want now, the seed that you sow today, you not necessarily will reap until a later date. You will reap at a later date. So sometimes you'll hear people say, boy, I never dreamt that this would have happened, or well, I would see this. I've seen that. Things that I, would have voted on, years prior, and now I'm seeing some of these things being established and so on. So I'm encouraging people to go out and to vote. Vote, vote, vote. I'm sorry I didn't stop to get one of those pamphlets or booklets or whatever it is, so that I could have, seen what was written in them. Perhaps at another date, I maybe will get one. You know, one of the things that, boy, for me would have been a cherry on top, Lord. If you just hear that, some monies will just come into our account, Lord have mercy. Especially for the civil servants and the public sector workers, even private sector. We can't leave out anybody, everybody. We just hear say some money come into our account, just to offset some things for everybody. Not here say because no disrespect, of course the poor and so on must be assisted without the shadow of a doubt. But sometimes people, secretly want some assistance. They may not necessarily be poor, but they just want some assistance. And not only that, sometimes people want some to feel like, they matter, and, they've never gotten anything. So it would, like sometimes you have these little uh, competitions or whatever you want to call it, you know, um, and they will enter them, and boy, we not even one sweetie. So sometimes it's good when you're gifted things. Let us put it that way. Everything doesn't have to be a diatribe or you have to work extremely hard for it. We just live on this planet. We only have one life, and we just want to get a little nicety sometimes, from those that are leading and guiding us. It's like a parent to a child. The child need not necessarily have had to do something academically or is well necessarily all the time well behaved. Just give because of giving's sake. What's wrong with that? We have good Samaritan. We don't have a good Samaritan mindset anymore. A good Samaritan doesn't exist anymore. Everything has to be almost calculated. Why? Why can't the Jamaican people just be blessed like what had happened in a few of the Caribbean countries in fairly last year, December, when everyone, barring none, I think one country had given $200,000. It would be the equivalent of about, call it $1,000 US. And another Caribbean country had done that. Every one of the people, the people there had, every one of them had gotten. Every one of them had gotten, barring none. So whether you're poor, needy, rich, in between, you get that money one at one time. We just want to see something like that. That is what would, I think that would clench, very much clench the deal. It's not a biggie, licky, yummy situation. Just, like I said, boy, somebody get this one time in my life, like when I'm reminiscing, like if I'm an old woman and I'm telling my story to the younger folk, I can say, I remember once, the government had given us this. Jeez, something. Just that's what would be great. I would love that. But anyway, boy, that campaigning, that's a quantum, that's a transformed. Wow, I never thought that that one they thought outside of the box, you know. Anyway, guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Boy, one day I hope I get one of those lions. I hope one day somebody will find favor with me and give me one of those lions, or the TikTok star. Yeah. All right, guys, take care.